this is episode 59 for me.
It is. Yeah.
Just blew through that 50 mark.
There we go. Yeah. Well, sweet.
Yeah.
So we got Scott Gaillard with us.
Yes.
today.
Yeah. I met Scott up here at your house a few months ago.
Yeah.
He's avid outdoorsman and the new COO of Big Woods Box.
That's right. Yep.
We're gonna chat about his journey from a young hunter up until now and where he's gonna go going forward.
I don't think I ever was a young hunter, unfortunately.
When'd you start hunting, Scott?
What's that?
When'd you start hunting?
I started when I was 26.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's late into the game
It
for
is.
sure. Yeah.
it is. Yeah. So, because I didn't grow up, well, I grew up on Long Island.
Okay.
And I did a little at the time it was stuff you shouldn't be doing, like going out back and shooting squirrels and birds with BB guns and stuff.
Yeah, we all did that,
Hey, yeah,
Scott.
you just did it at a later age.
Yeah.
Well, I was talking about I did that when I was, I don't know, 8-10 years old, and that's the kind of thing where I grew up you get in trouble for doing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it
I did
had
get in
this,
trouble for
guilt
it more than
associated
once.
with it.
So
Yeah. So, but that was, I liked it, but I felt guilty about it. And then fast forward when I moved to Virginia and ran into my buddy Sean, he showed me it was, you could do it legitimately and ethically. And so I had no idea. So he opened my eyes to it at 26 years old. And it was a lot of fun. I got a deer. There's a ton of deer in Virginia and Maryland where we hunted. And I got a deer my second time out with a bow.
Oh, that's
And I was just
impressive.
hooked. Yep. First time I went out with him, it was a comedy routine. I had my wife was in the Army. I had her old BDUs on, her old camos on. I thought it was a good idea to wear gloves, but I was wearing my mechanics gloves. They're covered in grease and oil and everything and stinking like crazy. And I had a cough. I remember that. And we sat there in the tree stand and hunted for a few hours, and we got down. I'm like, well, that was boring. I didn't hear anything. He's like, what are you, crazy? He's like, there was a beaver crawled under your tree. I took a shot at a 6-point buck.
Oh my
There's
God.
all this stuff going on that I had no idea because I didn't know what to listen for or anything. But yeah, so I had to catch up quick in my mid-20s there. And so that's when I joined that suburban archery group. Actually, I had to get 5 big game harvests with a bow, and then I qualified for that group. And that was my way of catching up because we were able to hunt deer all year, archery hunt in people's backyards. We had kill permits for
Wow.
all year, and just a great opportunity to catch up, doing a lot of hunting, a lot of harvesting deer, and get into a bunch of different scenarios. So that's how I caught up.
Yeah, that's one thing hunting in Maine is if you're late to the game, it's hard to get into it deep because it's hard hunting.
yeah.
I think
there's quite a
about
learning
that,
curve.
for my daughter, who's, I don't know, it's really tough to get new hunters out and keep them motivated. I mean, either they love it and they're gonna stick to it, or
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maine's Youth Day was a great avenue for that.
Yeah,
When they started their Youth Day, because you could shoot anything, buck or doe.
Right.
And because me growing up, I pretty well knew the chances of me shooting a deer as a 10-year-old were slim to none.
Yeah.
And it was just more of the experience for
Right.
me than it was going to be actually harvesting something. So
Yeah. The success rate up here in northern Maine is probably under 10%. I mean, that's overall.
yeah.
I mean, so the odds of you even being a decent deer hunter and getting a deer every year, one deer, were slim. So
and it's up here. They say say less than 10% or whatever. It's a lot of the same guys that are shooting the deer.
right, exactly. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah,
The ones that are hunting hard and putting the time in.
10% of the hunters get 90% of the deer.
Yeah, you can use that little
that
little ratio.
Yeah.
So Scott, your dad didn't hunt, huh?
No, nobody. Well, I shouldn't say nobody in my family. My mom's uncle hunted, but we never talked about it.
No kidding. All right.
That was it. No, there was nobody to show me the ropes. Not in my family, anyway.
Were they a little bit against it, or it was just like a meh?
Yeah. You could say that.
Really?
I like my mom, and my mom is just kind of like grossed out by it or whatever. My
Okay.
dad doesn't care. My sisters are kind of mostly cool with it.
So are you the black sheep of the family?
No, that's my middle sister, but
Okay, you won't go there.
and she's all about the wild game meat. She's a really good cook. She's so she's into all that part of it.
Well, you brought us when you came up here back in February. You brought us a duck.
Yeah, Muscovy.
We had that for Easter.
Right.
It was phenomenal.
Yeah. So I duck hunted for a very short time, and we shot mallards and stuff, and I tried cooking them. I tried stuffing them and roasting them, but man, I didn't like it. And I like most any wild game.
Oh,
Yeah.
Scott had recommended braising it.
Yeah, I stuffed it. I can't remember. Maybe apples and oranges or some sort of.
Yeah, that was a recipe that I had looked at.
Yeah,
kind of doing some fruit with it.
And we roasted it, with that stuff in there. But man, I didn't care for it. So
I went to.
Well, they are what they eat. That changes the flavor of the meat.
Right. So the duck that you had was domesticated, Paul. Was that?
Yeah. What species, Scott?
It's called Muscovy.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, that makes all the difference, though.
Oh yeah, big time. So the great thing about Muscovies is we have chickens too, and they think they're chickens. They don't need much water. They need a dish of water to like blow their beak out every once in a while, but they don't need a pond or anything. They're in the coop with the chickens. They eat the same food as the chickens.
Right.
So yeah, they have a pretty like rich meat as far as flavor goes, but it's not like they're eating fish or algae or anything like that all day and tasting like
Exactly. There's
trash.
a big difference. It's like turkey. Yeah. Turkey, you get a domesticated turkey from the store or whatever, and it's totally different than a wild turkey.
Yeah.
So
Lacey had a little bit of a hard time. Like she was sitting there eating it and she liked it. It tasted really good. But for some reason, she goes in her head, she goes, I feel like I'm eating a pet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, she'll eat anything else, right? But it was something about it was a duck. And she's like, they're so cute.
Yeah, they have their moments.
Yeah.
I don't know. We go through the whole thing. Like every fall, the whole family's doing the butchering and everything. And I don't know. I guess my family's we've been exposed to it enough to put that aside, and thankfully it's really good meat. So that helps too.
That's important for your kids. They see where this stuff is coming from.
Yeah.
Because, as we know, a lot of the people that maybe don't like what outdoorsmen do is
they've never been exposed.
They have a disconnect from from it all.
Yeah.
And I've got an aunt actually that Aunt Leslie.
Right.
She doesn't hunt or never has. And there was always a little bit of a like, hey, why do you hunt? And she started watching our podcast and she was like, wow, I didn't realize like how much thought and stuff went into everything. And it was kind of an eye opener to her. Which was good for me. It was good for me because I take it for granted that people would just understand what's going on and they're making a decision based on that, but they don't fully.
Oh, it's such a complex thing. I mean, we take it for granted. I've been hunting for just over 20 years now, but it doesn't take long to take it for granted as a hunter and just know you love it and get everything you get from it. But just think about like the nuance of, or the complexity of like the principle of killing one animal as a measure of conservation for a species of animals.
Yeah.
That's a really complex notion for people who haven't thought through it before. They just think, we're out there to kill as many. A lot of them don't even know there's a bag limit. They think we're just out there all year. They might not even know there's a season. Like kill as many as you can, kill them all, and they can't comprehend how much love we have for the animals and how much we know about them and care about them and everything. And because it's paradoxical to kill one.
Exactly,
it's huge. Like, it's very hard to articulate to somebody on how you can like an animal so much, but then take its life.
Right, and we are actually the conservationists.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So
we basically we pay the bills for the department.
Yeah, we're concerned about. We're the people that are concerned about environment. A lot of the people that they would think nothing of tearing down a forest and putting them all up or parking lot or whatever. never give a thought that that's actually the home of the animals or whatever is, you know.
Yeah.
But we would be more concerned about that, preserving the habitat, which is critical for animals to survive.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And you're right. You know, if you look at bear hunting, you imagine if there was no bear harvest in the state, we've got a lot of bear.
We do have a lot of bear.
Man, it would be.
And most of that stuff, and it's not hunters that really regulate the populations. It's habitat. You know, we have a lot of bear. We had so many moose in the 80s and 90s because they created perfect habitat up here in the big woods through clear cutting.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if the truth be known, and Hal has talked about this quite a bit, in those years, in those decades,
well, we weren't harvesting enough.
They should have killed far more moose than what we were.
Yeah.
They should have been harvesting way more moose than what we were. And so Mother Nature comes in this case in the form of a winter tick, and
it's reset.
Yeah. She cleans out the population.
Right.
She makes an adjustment that we weren't willing to make. So
yeah, it's tough for biologists to they can't react too much, changing bag limits and extending seasons, and
right.
Yeah. You don't want to do that too often, but that does seem to be the consensus, that there was a little under harvesting going on.
Yeah, well, back then they were very concerned about public perception as far as it being a bloodbath, sending so many hunters out there, and it's kind of funny, it's kind of ironic that now when the population has gone down, the people that don't hunt and don't know a lot about how it all works kind of blame the hunters for the dip in the population now. Huh. And like I say, it wasn't that at all. It was Mother Nature taking them.
Too much credit.
yeah.
What's that?
Giving us too much credit.
They give us too much credit. We couldn't have done all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Scott, back in the day, man, I can remember going bird hunting when I was 10 or 11, and it was nothing to take a trip up in the woods for the day and see 10 or 12 moose.
Yeah.
That's just from the road. Like,
we had a lot of moose in the 80s and 90s. And I'm not sure, I've heard numbers like 10 to 12 per square mile, which was way more than the landscape could hold. Mm. So it really blew up.
That reminds me, when I was doing that suburban archery thing back in Virginia, we did a lot of work with the county biologist, and because of the proficiency of the organization, we got into some special projects and some county properties and things. But at that time, I forget the target carrying capacity for white-tailed deer, but I think it's in the single digits per square mile. Mm-hmm. And Fairfax County, where I was up to 400 deer per square mile.
Holy smokes!
Yeah, not good.
Mean, talk about like bumping into moose when you're bird hunting.
Right.
You're bumping into deer driving to work.
Yeah.
Like deer car collisions were off the charts.
Yeah.
Like, herds of them in people's backyards. You could see the browse line going around.
Oh, yeah. Everything's eaten.
Way, way out of control.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Scott, back then, back to your first forays into deer hunting, you were mostly, stand hunting, huh? That's what you were.
Yeah. Mostly archery, and all tree stand hunting. I mean, I did some ground blind hunting and stuff if I was off a suburban property, but mostly tree stand archery.
So how did you find yourself in Maine?
I live in New Hampshire now, and when I moved here, 2013, I just hunted the way I knew how. Like I set up a couple of tree stands on our property and a ground blind on our property, and I'd sit a lot, like, go out before work 3, 4, 5 times a week, just sit for an hour or so. And I'd get a deer or two. One year I got 3 on the property, but it was like after a lot of sitting.
Yep.
And after a few years of that, I was just like, it didn't feel like hunting. Like,
Wasn't doing it for you?
the hunting like skill came into play with like picking the right pinch point and the right spot to set my stand. But once that work was done, which was one time per season, it was about the grind of like getting up, taking a scent-free shower, going and sitting in the woods,
Putting your time
for a couple
in.
of hours, not seeing anything. Like it was just boring, you know. It was more about waiting, and that's when I started researching like ways that people hunt and kill deer up north, and I found big woods bucks and deer tracking, and that just like, I don't want to belittle the tree stand hunters, but I have a lot less interest in that kind of hunting now, because if I can be out walking around, you know, getting after deer proactively, that to me is adventure. That's a lot more fun.
So that's how you found yourself hunting in Maine. Was you'd researched it and then just came across big woods bucks? That was like,
I researched it. I read Hal's books. I read Mark's book. Watched a whole bunch of big woods bucks videos, and I took Hal's tracking clinic, and then I booked outfitted hunts with big woods outfitters for the first 3 seasons, and until I felt like, okay, I could do this on my own. It's pretty intimidating for someone who's never done it. Like how big these woods are. Yep. Being scared of getting lost and like wondering what happens if I do get one. Can I get it out? Can I drag it out?
Yeah.
But you know, it took me a few years to get over that. And now, I mean, I was hooked right away, but now I'm definitely hooked.
So what was the first year you came to Maine hunting? What year was that?
2020.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Not too long ago.
2020. Yeah. So I went with Brian Donaghy guided me.
Yeah. Okay.
I probably told you that story, Paul, but that was awesome. And we had a good week, and we killed a really nice buck on Thursday. That was the 198-pound buck, 2 pounds shy of 200.
Oh my word!
And then Brian's like, yeah, well, that was the first deer I ever guided for. Like,
no kidding.
Like, what? Now you tell me, like, I mean, I guess it's not that much different. He's done moose and all kinds of, he used to guide in Alaska and all that stuff, but he knows what he's doing, and it's not that much different. But he hadn't guided for deer in Maine before until my hunt.
So he was 1 for 1, huh?
Yeah. He might have hung it up after that. I don't know if he guided anymore.
Brian's a good guy. He's a good fisherman too.
He's good at everything. Yeah. You said you ran into him fishing up there?
So he fished some of the same areas that we fish for, and he guided for Chandler Lake camps.
Yeah.
And and I was joking with you. I'm like, well, obviously he's a good fisherman because he's fishing the same spots we were.
Yeah, he's got good taste in spots, I guess.
No, he's a good guy. So what week of the season was that, Scott, that you shot that buck?
That was the first week. So at the time, like the way Hal does it, if you're a newbie coming in, if you want to hunt with big woods outfitters, pretty much pick whatever spots available. And that year there were only spots in week 1. So I took week 1, and luckily we got like a 8 or 10 inch snowstorm.
That's awesome.
Like the first day. So we had really good tracking snow, and I got to track on snow. But after that year, I've been going week 3. Seems to be the best, like optimal choice, best chance of snow, good deer activity. Yep.
Yeah, man, 198 pounds for your first Maine deer. I mean, that's impressive.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I mean, it didn't look like a particularly big track. I mean, week 1, that deer was 198. So week 3, it probably would have been a 175-pound buck, which is what we guessed looking at it. But it was Thursday. We're like, hey, we'll try it. And then like when we were walking up to it, I'm like, that is a pig of a deer. Like of all the deer I've seen.
Compared to what Virginia. You're used to seeing. Yeah. I was going to ask that question, Scott.
Was 205, I think, live weight. So what's that, 168 or something? But that was the biggest buck I ever killed until that one in Maine. So just like walking up to it, I was like, man, that thing is huge.
Yeah.
And sure enough.
Almost. And I like the story, Scott, because you were at Bishop's, right? Hanging it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everyone go ahead.
Yeah, we're hooking up to the scale, and like, I'm serious, people were driving by on 201 and they'd be like pull a Yui and come into Bishop's to see what's getting hooked up. So that was cool. Like people coming off the road to watch, and as they're hauling it up, and the scale's going up and down and up and down, and it settles on 198, and everyone's like, the crowd's like, oh. And one guy slaps me on the back, and he goes, "Yeah, better luck next year, buddy."
Isn't that awful?
I'll never forget that, man. It was funny. Something,
Nice try.
Yeah. Better luck next year. You come up alone, Scott, when you come up the first time?
By myself, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a guided hunt, but I didn't.
Right, but you didn't have a
anything.
partner or any guy come up with you. No.
No. But I met people in camp that year that I still keep in touch with, and we still
Absolutely.
we still go every year. So
yeah.
So then your second year up here, did you shoot a buck that year?
Yeah, I did. That was the year I went with Roger, and that was the year we both shot bucks on the same day. I just put that short up actually from the Big Woods podcast, but
that's a good story.
I think it was Friday. Did I tell you? I told you that story. It was on the podcast, but yeah, like we got until Friday. All the snow melted, and I was like, "Oh man, I'm not going to get one this year." And we ended up like still hunting through an area with no snow on the ground, and a doe started blowing at us. She stood up, and we just like froze there for a half hour, and she took off, and this little buck came in behind her, so I shot him, and that was at like 7:00 in the morning. Dang. So we get him taken care of, go back to camp. And then we go back out because Roger had his new 35 Whalen, his Big Woods Bucks 7600, and he goes and sights that in, and it starts to snow. And we got like a half inch or an inch of snow, like this little concentrated snow squall. Got on a track and killed another buck at like noon or something like that. Killed his.
That's a good day.
Yeah, that was a heck of a day.
So the joke was you were saying you were. What, 3 for 2?
3 for 2. Yeah, my second year, I felt like I was guiding. Like I had my 870 for grouse, and but I didn't shoot any because we were on a track. And then I saw that buck, and it felt like I was guiding, so I felt pretty good about that one. But I was saying I was 3 for 2.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, Maine's tough. It's tough to harvest deer, especially 2 in one day.
Yeah.
Which we'd never done that until we had one year that
couple of years
it was
ago.
just
2021, I think. Paul, we both did it. Yeah.
Dumb luck.
Oh, that's when that was. That was 2021.
Yeah. No kidding. All right.
Must have been a good year.
Yeah. I shot a deer that morning, and we were tickled pink because it's the beginning of the season.
That was kind of bittersweet, disappointing in the fact that we always had deer camp Thanksgiving week, and we end up shooting deer, both of us, the first, November 4th, I think, Paul.
Yeah, November 4th.
Oh.
So Paul and I are looking at each other saying, well, nobody's got a tag. We're done.
What are we going to do?
So.
And of course,
what did you do?
Of course, so we still go to deer camp. And of course, we start seeing big bucks everywhere.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
There was one at Cross. We were going into a spot. I think we were checking some cameras or something. We're going down the road, and you can just tell when it's a big deer, the way it walks, and like way down the road, this deer had come out across the cut, out across the road. And it was just kind of doing this big kind of just swagger across the road.
Yeah.
And I pull up, and I look down a skid trail, and he's standing there looking at us. Nice big rack.
He knew you didn't have a tag.
And I'm just
it. Yeah.
You're
safe.
That's the way it goes. But yeah.
Do you have a camera?
Yeah, I got him on camera. He's in one of the videos that I got up there. And you can see when he turns his head, you can see the rack when he turns off to the side to go away.
That's cool. Yeah, well, you guys have a good camp. I wouldn't miss that even if I didn't have a tag, but it might bring someone who did have a tag.
I know, right? Yeah, I think Lacey and I went out that.
Yeah, muzzle loading.
And actually, we had.
Or was it?
No, it was the last day of the rifle season. We had some fresh snow.
Yeah.
And I probably could have shot the buck. He was bedded down, and I had just stepped out around a log, and we made eye contact. And he jumped up, and he took he didn't run hard, but he took 3 great big bounds, just directly away from me. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh man. And she was behind me. She's like, I saw the deer.
Yeah.
But she's not used to that sort of hunting. And
quick for sure.
But I was like, oh my God. I'm like, that was a nice buck.
Yeah.
But Still fun to get out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You can't be afraid of shooting, Scott, as far as, especially if you have snow, you at a running deer, you can't,
Yeah, you get a little bit of blood.
You read a lot and hear a lot about people. They don't like to, they want to make an ethical kill or whatever. And we want to do that, but tracking deer, you can't be afraid of shooting at a running deer, and you better be quick.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Send some lead. I remember that first year I came up, 2020, I actually took a long range shooting class at Sig Sauer Academy that summer.
No kidding.
And I was nervous that it was going to like ingrain bad big woods shooting habits into me.
I
so
can see
like
that.
I spent a lot of trigger time like unlearning what I learned in that class.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
the slow breathing and the settle and all that stuff. I had to like get it out of my head and just get ready to shoot fast.
It's like it all just happens. You don't really remember, you just get so comfortable with your gun and stuff. It just kind of all comes together.
Yeah.
And if your head gets into it too much, it gets in the way.
Yeah. It's really
Definitely,
instinctive. And I think, if you did a lot of grouse hunting, that would help you out a lot, because that's snap shooting, when you're hunting grouse, you don't get much of a chance.
No, you're shooting your rifle almost like a shotgun.
Yeah.
When a grouse takes off, you're really not.
And you get small windows for that, but boy, they find cover pretty quick. So yeah.
So Scott, I wanted to talk about also, you did a trip to Africa.
Yeah. This last summer we went. Yeah.
What'd you harvest over there?
Pretty epic.
Yeah.
Oh, gee, a whole bunch of stuff. Whole bunch of stuff I learned what it was like on the trip and then shot it. So it's a different kind of hunt. But oryx, kudu, wildebeest. My daughter got a springbuck, a blue wildebeest, another kudu. We killed some jackals at night. That was fun. Hartebeest, zebra.
Holy smokes.
Sure, I'm leaving some stuff out, but yeah, it's a target-rich environment, that's for sure.
Would you do it again?
Oh, I will definitely do it again. Yeah, got to go back. I don't know if we'd go to the same place, or like there's different species in different parts of Africa that might be fun to see, but it's a pretty awesome place. It's hard to explain, but it's definitely awesome. And we brought the whole family. Like the kids loved it, and my wife loved it.
That's sweet.
Yeah, what an experience.
And my son's not that into hunting, but he had such a good time, driving around the safari vehicles, seeing all the wildlife, tons of it, and just great food, great people. It's a really good time.
Yeah, that'd be a blast. Something different.
Yeah.
Something different for sure.
Yeah, actually, we were watching a video. My wife did it, but it wasn't hunting, but she went on a safari there. They went out and they drove around. Yeah. I think she was in Swaziland.
Oh, yeah, we were talking about that. Yeah, that's like southeastern Africa. We were southwestern Africa.
So they took pictures and stuff. And yeah.
Did you bring any of that back stateside with you, or how does that work?
The trophies are still being processed. So we ate as much as we could there. Like they have the farm is like it's a big operation, and they got a professional chef there, a full kitchen. And so he's got his menu picked out, and whatever we bring in, he'll take the meat that he needs for the menu, and then they give away meat to the staff, and then they sell some of it in town. But it's funny. It wasn't until I got back, I flew back into Logan, and the customs agent is asking me like, what'd you bring back? And I said like, you're not going to get me nothing, not allowed to bring anything back. And he goes, no, you can totally bring stuff back. So I guess there is like some permitting process, and maybe it has to get shipped separately and be frozen and stuff. So I guess we could have brought meat back, but we didn't bring any back.
All right. What was your favorite meat out of all the stuff that you harvested?
I'd say eland. Eland's like it's basically a cow. It's like a 2,000 pound antelope.
Wow.
It's got a big old, like, whatever you call that, brisket wattle thing. And it looks like a big steer. Really, really good meat. And huge cuts. So like huge, you know, if you want the tenderloin or something, it's going to be a huge cut of meat. So it's, you know, that was really good stuff, but we didn't have anything bad.
Nice. Okay.
Zebra was good. Yeah, everything was good that we ate there. But probably
That's
Eland's
pretty
is my
sweet.
favorite.
All right. I remember that. Want to go to Africa?
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's go. Let's
I'll
go.
go next week.
Yeah.
So Scott, you're
Yeah.
when I was talking to you, you're also a vehicle enthusiast, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Actually, it was funny. My buddy Sean that got me into hunting makes fun of me because before I got into hunting, I used to race my little Honda Civic. Like I put a bigger motor in there and built out the suspension
No
and
way.
stuff. And FedEx Field, where the Redskins play, I used to race at autocross in that parking lot. And like the first couple times I went hunting, you know, I used to go drive that thing, pick up my buddy, drive that thing down to the farm, and it was kind of a
You
joke.
take the Civic?
And until I sold it and got my Tacoma, yeah.
That'd be sweet. See a
But
deer
yeah, now
strap
I'm
to the
into
top
trucks.
of it.
What's that?
So I said, yeah, I see a deer strap to the top of it. That'd be a nice sight.
I did kill a huge, like the biggest antler buck I've ever killed was my first year hunting actually. And all I had was that Honda Civic hatchback. And I killed this buck and he's laying in the field and I'm like, I was by myself on the farm. I'm like, well, now what am I going to do? And I drove that thing all the way down the farm road into the field. And I just still didn't know what my plan was going to be. And thankfully the owner showed up and I think we went and we must have got his pickup truck or something like that and got it back up to the house. Cause I don't know what I was going to do with that deer.
You didn't put it in the Civic?
I guess I was going to try to get it in the back. I don't know what I was thinking, but I didn't. It was my first year hunting ever, and I was like, I had no idea what to do. I shouldn't have been by myself, honestly.
You figure it out. Learn from your mistakes.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. Yeah.
So you've got a Jeep that you've done a lot of work to, right?
Yeah, I bought a 2005 Wrangler. I forget when that was. I think that was in 2020 also. Just to have something to learn on, and that's a really fun vehicle too. Like take the hard top off and doors off and stuff, and it's a 2-door, but it has 4 seats, and so we can all fit in there and just bounce around town. But yeah, I did just some regular maintenance on it and stuff when I got it, and I'm in the process of changing out the suspension. I did the front end last year. I'll do the back end this year. Swapped out all the brakes and bunch of other stuff on it, but it's a good learning experience. The biggest problem though is the rust. Like it was in pretty good shape. It was in very good shape for a New England vehicle when I bought it, but you know, it's no job is simple. You go to take one nut off and you snap the whole bolt and then you're like, oh, now what do I do? You got a whole project on your hands.
New England is so hard on the bodies of vehicles.
They are. The calcium they put on the roads and stuff, man, it is so hard on vehicles up here.
And as you know, we're talking about vehicles, I sit here and think I'm kind of personally, you know, and I think of the way that we hunt in big woods in the past couple of years, really, I've been thinking my vehicle choices are probably going to start going the other way from more modern vehicles because modern vehicles
are not built for the woods.
Well, you got to have some degree of self-reliance. If something happens, you got to be able to fix it I look at the vehicles now and I'm like, if you're in a bind, you're SOL. There's so much tech and they're so complicated versus, you know, like an old Chevy pickup from the early 80s. I mean, you basically could have a few spare parts in the bed of your pickup and
keep it going.
Could fix yourself in any situation.
Yeah. That's what Hal says about that Ram Charger. He carries, I think, the 5 things that could possibly break on it, he has in the truck at all
as
times.
A backup.
It's like an ignition coil. I forget what the other things are, and he's had to do it. But yeah, there's no like, I mean, so my main vehicle's a 2018 Ram 2500. And
Yep.
even that, like with the regen, it drives me nuts because I can't control when all the diesel emission stuff's going to go off. And it happens quite frequently when I'm pulling back into the garage is when it decides it's going to cook off the diesel particulate filter. It sets all the smoke alarms off in the house. It stinks up the whole place. If it's happened, I'm pulling in late at night. I wake up the whole house. Like, you really have no control over your vehicle anymore. The modern ones, it's a shame.
Yeah.
No, even my tractor does the same thing. You know,
you have a newer one, huh?
So I'll be out doing something, and maybe I just hop in it for a second, and I can like push it to the side, you know, be like, oh, I'll do it later. But sometimes I'm just like, what the heck? So it's cold out, and they take forever to warm up when it's -5. So you sit there and throttle it up and let it run. And
burn all that diesel and throw all those extra emissions into the atmosphere.
Yeah. And then the
for the sake of environmentalism.
Yeah. And then the time I got to sit there and I'm like, I just was moving my tractor around the house.
Yeah.
Now it's a 20-minute ordeal.
Yeah.
It's like, geez.
Yeah, you got to rip that stuff off. I don't know how that stuff made it. My tractor is older. It's before they put that stuff on. I think 2016 or so they started requiring it. But if you're not driving it on public roads, I don't know how that stuff got mandated.
I know.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I don't have to deal with DEF or anything like that with mine.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's another thing. Yeah. If you don't put your DEF in, your vehicle goes into limp mode and you could get stuck. But
yeah. I remember one of the guys at work a few years back, he'd bought a new Dodge pickup and it was brand new. I don't know, maybe a few months old or whatever. And it just wouldn't start one day. And he's like, I have no idea what's going on. Like, and of course, his big thing, he likes to deer hunt, likes to fish. Right. He's got a camp up in the North Maine woods in the middle of nowhere. And the first thing out of his mouth is like, what if I was into a pond someplace fishing and I come out fishing at night?
Right, you come out at 9:30 at night or whatever.
It's not like I can't jump it. It's something electrical going on or something in the computer. He's like, man, that would suck. That'd be a long walk.
Yeah, it would be a long walk.
That's a good thing about the Jeep. I mean, I wouldn't drive the Jeep up to Maine, but I would trailer it and then deploy it into the logging roads or whatever, because that's an old inline straight 6 4-liter.
Easy to work on.
I think the design of that engine is from the 50s, like the American Motor Company.
AMC had them for a while.
Yeah, you could fix anything on that thing pretty easy. I had a situation, I was driving it and it wouldn't start and I couldn't figure out what it was, but at least there's no computer getting in the way. So just keep looking, and eventually I found one of the wires came off the starter, put that back on and started right up. But it's a manual. You can push start it if the battery's dead, 4-coil suspension, so it's easy to swap stuff out and put a lift on it. And it's pretty bulletproof. Yeah,
gone are those days.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
it's a shame.
Yeah, but you got the right idea. I think there's a market for that too. I think there's some guys doing it where they buy older vehicles and upfit them just a little bit, for some creature comforts and GPS or whatever, but all the good stuff, none of the bad stuff. And then you got yourself a pretty solid vehicle. And with trucks going for $100,000 these days, you got a lot of dollars to work with. Like,
you're right.
Picture what you could pick up for $20,000 old and used and put $10,000 into it. You'd have yourself a pretty sweet truck for a lot less than a new one.
Because there was a point in time about a year ago, one of the guys at work was saying to me, he's like, you're about due for a new vehicle. And I'm like, I have no idea what I would buy. I have no interest in anything that's available. I'm like, I don't know what I would buy.
Yeah. Right.
Said I probably will go the other way.
It's the same with me, Paul.
The trucks in Africa were really sweet. They had the Land Cruisers, but the ones that we don't have here. They're Toyotas, but they have a solid front axle, which I don't think the Toyotas have over here.
No.
Yeah.
And just really rugged. Some of them you could get diesel. The guys we were at were driving them with gas, and they built benches above the bed.
Yeah.
And on the bulkhead in the back, they put a winch facing aft. So when you kill one of these animals, they drive right up to it and just winch it up into the bed of the truck, and you're sitting up on top of it and just go keep hunting, which I thought was cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
See that a lot of that, Scott, it amazes me because Paul and I were raised in the woods and stuff, and you know, from a very young age, we were exposed to all this stuff. You know, the big woods, deer hunting, and so it's hard for me to wrap my mind around somebody getting into that at 26. I try to see it from that because it's all we've ever known. You know, when we were little, we'd see our fathers come back. Paul, me being,
and you take it for granted,
right?
I thought that's how everybody hunted.
Yeah, but you must have run into some city folk and just looked at them funny, like at the stuff we don't even know. We don't know.
Yeah, right.
When you're raised in
it's
suburbia.
funny. It's funny, Scott. Not so much then because it mostly was local people. It was. But nowadays, especially during the moose season, we'll be up in the woods and I'll come around the corner and there's a Mercedes G-Wagon coming down the road or a Porsche, like Porsche, whatever.
Cayenne.
Yeah. And I'm going, oh boys, with like low profile tires. And I think these guys are out of place.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of them, they get drawn for a moose permit and they don't know what they're getting into.
Wow.
And they come out.
That's kind of dangerous. Kind of funny, but kind of dangerous.
Yeah. I remember we had the wife and kids there. I think it was this past fall. Come around the corner and there's a white G-Wagon coming down the road. I'm like, oh my God.
Wow.
You don't see that 60 miles in the sticks very often.
Yeah.
What kind of plates were on that thing?
I think it was Massachusetts.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
If I think back correctly.
Yeah.
But I can remember the girls at the gate telling me stories of, you know, guys from coming in with like the one was a Porsche and you get some flat tires and
Right.
he was expecting them to like come good on it because it said the roads weren't good. They were
who did he think owed him?
He thought North Maine Woods should come good on it on his flat tires.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And they're like, man, no, you're
on your own, bud.
You're on your own, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lucky there's a road. You're welcome.
Exactly.
You're right.
You're right.
We're lucky that they let us use it, Scott. That's private land. So
and they're good roads.
Yeah, I'm sure he signed something when he got his pass, right? Didn't he have to get a pass to the North Maine Woods? I guess he didn't.
You do.
And I think it says at the bottom there too, enter at your own risk or whatever.
Yeah. No, we consider, we're very fortunate they let us use, we can recreate on all that 3.5 million acres of land that they open up to us.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And we can, we can hunt and fish to our heart's content. We're very fortunate there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an awesome thing. It's a rare thing too. I mean, it's, New Hampshire's the same way as Maine, where private lands are assumed accessible unless they're posted.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Maine takes it a step further with areas like the North Maine Woods, which are largely private, but intentionally accessible for recreation. That doesn't exist. I don't think that exists anywhere else in the country.
Yeah.
I might be wrong about that. Maybe one or two other states, but
we're aware of
it's a
that.
real blessing.
I think you're right.
And we're aware of that, Scott, and we understand that may not always be that way. That can certainly change in the future.
Yeah. A couple more G-Wagons, you might lose your privileges.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. So around our camp up country here, we're not in the gate. We're not beyond the gate, but it's still all industrial forest, which we can access. There's no gate fee or anything like that. But we can still access all of that country around our camp and hunt and fish and do what we want, So, yeah.
But you go out west, everything is hunting leases and stuff.
Yeah. Well, BLM and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of the guys at work hunt leases out in Ohio. And that's just kind of that's a different.
Right. What you have to do to hunt.
Different thing for me to wrap my mind around.
Yeah.
They must sit in tree stands.
They do. Yeah. They do a bow hunting trip out there.
Yeah.
And it's funny. They're like, they see huge bucks, but they're like 75 yards out, 100 yards out. And they're like, back in Maine, that would be mine all day long. But
with a rifle.
here sitting with a bow and a pointy stick.
Yeah.
It's a different story.
Yeah. Yeah, they got to get close. Well, you got to have some kind of challenge, right?
That's right.
Out there.
That's right. They got some big rack box too. That you'd send me pictures of huge box.
Yeah.
It's like, jeez.
Yeah, it's cheating.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's not the same. I don't really have much of a desire to hunt anywhere else other than Maine.
Yeah.
Maine's kind of my special to me.
Yeah, well, good thing you live there. It's like, even despite the low deer density, it's like a guaranteed great experience no matter what happens each day, right? You go out and you're exploring and you have encounters with wildlife, might be deer, might be moose, grouse, whatever. But I don't want to say you're not going to have a bad day. I mean, your vehicle could break down, you could fall in a mud hole.
We've had a few of those
or whatever, but
get stuck or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still a good story.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Those
are some of the best stories, Scott.
And you always see
the tough days.
You see things that you would never see otherwise. You know, sitting in a tree stand. You come across, find old cabins.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Weird wildlife behavior.
Yeah.
Come across all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And as you get older, we've talked about this a lot. As I get older, I get a little more curious. And sometimes I find myself doing less hunting and more
poking
around.
Yeah.
Like we came across an old hunting camp there along a stream that was all collapsed in.
Yeah.
Can't even really see the road to get to it.
No, that's right.
It was just a cabin in the middle of nowhere, middle of the woods.
How old do you think that cabin was that you found?
Well, we kind of, it was funny, Scott. We were trying to gauge that because on different things, we found a Teflon frying pan. So you're trying to think, okay, when did Teflon frying pans, they haven't been around forever.
Yeah.
And we found the 1 pound cylinder propane tanks, Paul, there. So I found over the years, probably 7 or 8 of those in different parts of the woods. And every one of them, Scott, has been collapsed by the snow. All the ones I found have been collapsed. So, and they all
are they like A-frames or?
No, they're your traditional, they weren't A-frames. They were just traditional cabin build, stick built, 2x4 with dimensional lumber.
Probably not the most structurally sound.
They weren't overbuilt.
Buildings.
And like I say, what happens is you get a winter where you get a lot of snow, and if you don't get in there in time, you're going to lose your camp. My wife and I have to be very diligent about the cabin we have. There's been years we have to make sure we get up there 3 or 4 times in a season to make sure the snow's off the roof. So, like I say, you wouldn't have to miss, if you missed too many storms and then you had some rain or whatever and added a lot of weight to the snow, you could easily lose your cabin. And like I say, all of these have been collapsed. The snow has taken them.
Kind of sad.
I always take pictures of them. I carry a camera. I always kind of document them, take pictures. You're still coming up, Scott, then every fall up into Maine.
Yeah, so far it's been just 1 week. If I can get some more time this year, I'd love to spend some more time. I got to, I killed my buck on the first day of week 3 this past season. So it was fun hanging around in the woods, taking my buddy, trying to get him a buck. And
absolutely.
Then I got to follow him and film him for a day. Yeah. So if I could spend some more time up there, I will.
Yeah. So I got a question for you, Scott. Okay, you're now COO of Big Woods Bucks. Do you have another gig? Is there another gig you have another job?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have a real job. I do real estate technology consulting.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
To a truck driver from northern Maine, I have no idea what that is.
What, real estate technology consulting?
Yes.
So let's see if I can explain it in 30 seconds or less. There's like commercial and corporate real estate. So buildings that could be offices or
Right.
factories or warehouses or whatever, and all the technology that goes into operating those buildings. So it could be moving people around if they sit in an office building, could be HVAC, scheduled maintenance, preventive maintenance, capital projects of building those buildings, decommissioning those buildings, all that kind of stuff. If it's a leased building, lease payments and lease negotiations, things like that. It all goes through software that we consult on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're an engineer, correct, Scott?
Yeah. My undergrad is industrial engineering, and then I have a master's in business, an MBA on top of that. Yeah. But I'm not really using it. It's just, an engineering degree is a great degree to have. It teaches you how to solve problems and think critically about stuff.
Yep.
And work hard. But I don't work as an engineer.
That's common with a lot of people.
Yeah.
So how did you end up as the COO of Big Woods Box? How'd you find yourself in that?
Yeah, the titles are, I don't put too much stock in them, but I do obviously I love big woods hunting. And I was actually, when I got back from Africa, I decided I wanted to just do a little bit more and talk to Hal and talk to Brian and just trying to help the company. And they have a lot going on, a lot of good things going on, and they need help too. So, I'm applying my skills wherever I can and just help the company get organized and grow and succeed.
Scott is a really good organizer.
Yeah.
He's really good at kind of getting everything together.
We all need good organizers.
In a cohesive measure.
Yeah. We all need good organizers.
Yeah.
So they get the right guy there.
Maybe
doing
that comes
That's
with
good.
The engineering territory.
That's good to hear. Scott.
I think him and Lacey have a lot in common with that.
Yeah, Lacey's a
that
very
area.
organized person and stuff. Yeah.
Me, not so much.
Yeah, me not so much either.
I
don't have anything to organize anyway, so
I keep myself organized. That's about it.
Choose a pair of underwear and a pair of pants every morning, and how much sugar I'm going to put in my coffee. It's
sometimes that's a challenge.
That's it. More than you would know. More than you would know.
So Scott, you went basically from like a customer and a fan to
a fan, yeah,
to being part of the biz.
Yeah, I'm still a fan, and it's interesting. I'll tell the guys a lot of times. I'll say, as a fan, I give them that perspective, and I don't know how long I'll have that perspective still, but we got to service the fans. Our mission is to educate through entertainment.
Yep.
And also equip, for the big woods. And if we're not serving the fan base, then we're not going to be successful. So trying to keep that perspective. It's good if we can all run the business and be fans at the same time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I'm definitely a fan and have been for a long time, Scott. So,
well, it's one of the few.
Appreciate that.
It's one of the few things that was relatable back in the day. And I know I've said this 1,000 times, but growing up doing it, everything was like box blind hunting, and that's great. Yeah. It kind of scratches an itch for you.
Well, does it seem, you guys have been following it longer than I have, but does it seem like there's been a surge in big woods hunting popularity?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. There's so much out there now compared to, we were in it on the ground level as far as consuming it, trying to find stuff about it, so the Benoits were the very first that and soon after Hal, and then the Berniers. I don't know if you know
you had them in the middle of it there.
Yeah, they came in on it. There was a father and son. The son unfortunately passed away fairly young from cancer.
His father just passed away.
Did he? Yeah, there was a father and son, and they get into putting out some books and stuff, and the son actually wrote for deer and deer hunting.
Yeah, he was connected with Charles Alzheimer.
Exactly, and deer hunting, and so those were the three big the players that we knew. Like I say, Benoit's being first, and then Hal, and So, but yeah, we were always looking to anything we could find, any books on big woods hunting, tracking and stuff, and videos. And so we have it all. We have all their books, and all their videos.
Yeah.
And if they put out a video tomorrow, we would have it, so.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
so I don't know if it's changing or if it needs to go in a different direction, but there definitely is a lot more content out there.
Yeah.
No, nowadays there's a big interest in that type of hunting. A big interest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's either someone's really loves it or has no interest in it at all. There seems to be no middle ground there.
Yeah.
But we got people coming up all the time like saying, man, I really love like deer tracking.
Yeah.
Really, really love it.
And it's kind of ironic too now, Scott, because Paul and I talk about this. It's very tough to do that where although there's lots of land,
lots of roads.
It's so intersected with roads and stuff. The woods are so fragmented that it's very hard to track deer now where we are anyway. There's lots of land, but you wouldn't walk half an hour, maybe 15 minutes in any one direction. You'd come across a drivable road.
Yeah.
So. And you get cut off by guys.
Oh, the cut off. Yeah. So really it becomes a game of trying to figure out the block of woods
that they're actually in,
driving around, see if they go into a spot, and if they've come out, usually you can drive a complete circle around any block of woods or square. And just saying, well, we're pretty sure that deer is still in that block of woods. And then you go in and so the days of going 5 or 10 miles in one direction and not cutting a road or whatever, those days are gone. Yeah.
It seems like now, like, you get up in the morning and you see a fresh track and it's easy to be like, oh, I want to jump out and get on it. But there's so many roads. You really got to be like, all right, I'm going to drive over to the next road and we'll see if you cross there. And 9 times out of 10, you end up hopping maybe 2 or 3 roads.
Right.
And it's great in the sense that you've shortened up your day quite a bit, but it also makes me a little uneasy.
Yeah, it's not as fun. It's not like it used to be. And then you get other people who are doing this. They get the same mindset. They're out they're playing the same game and stuff. So it gets a little tough in that regard.
So my goal is always where are the least number of people?
Right.
And I'm going there.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Right. And that usually
I've never had too much trouble. But thankfully, I like to get away from people too, just because that's part of the experience. That's what I'm trying to do.
That's what deer tracking is.
Yeah,
that's what deer tracking is. It's getting away, and that's when you're going to be the most successful. And so
until it's time to drag, then I want people.
That's right.
That's when I call Paul.
Yeah,
there you go.
Dad shot one there a few years ago. It was kind of funny. I get up to the truck and I was like, well, this is great. You shot the deer, but I cleaned it. I drug it out.
Yeah.
You get to have all the fun.
Yeah. Well,
I tracked it to you too.
Which one was that?
That was the buck that we knew where he was going.
Yeah.
So I stayed on his track and Dad had kind of cut around.
Yeah. There again, he went into a block of woods and Paul stayed on the track and I drove around the block of woods to, I knew the area. I knew where they liked to cross and I went over and I was still sitting in the truck when the deer stepped out in the road there. Paul had just shot at it. He jumped it out of its bed and the deer
so you were in the truck and you saw it?
I was in the truck when the deer.
You just drove down around?
I didn't see any sense in going out and getting cold or whatever, and so I sat in the truck and the deer come out behind me and I get out of the truck and hollered at it and the deer stopped in the road and I shot it. So, yeah.
I think we've been a couple hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
We got to let Scott get back to work.
Scott, I appreciate you joining us.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for having me. I wish I could have been there in person. But
I know.
It was good seeing you again, Scott, and best of luck to you.
So one thing I do want to add is, so we're playing around with some remoting people in. I'd like to start doing it more often.
Right.
So if anyone watching has a story to tell, wants to join us sometime on a podcast, shoot me an email, and
There you go.
we'll have you on
There you go.
and play around with that.
Yeah.
Because everyone has a good story to tell.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, there's all kinds of good.
Yeah.
And it's great to just kind of chew the fat with a fellow deer hunter or fisherman.
Yeah.
That's always good. So
Always.
I guess that's all she wrote.
That's it.
All right. I guess until next time, get outside.
It's good for the soul.
See ya. Should have had Scott do that.
Yeah. Yeah. We should have had Scott do my.
No, that's Mark's line.
Not really. I don't know how I ended up.
God.